Hello.
Hey, how are you today?
Good.
Hi,
How are you
David.
today? Good. Good. I'm trying to figure out where to look because I got all these screens and stuff. But thank you guys for making this so easy, and thanks for inviting us to join. I'm really excited to share this project. It was our number one most viewed video on Facebook, and I think it's credit to what the meaning of it is. So I'd love to take you through it.
Great. Take it away.
Very
Fantastic. I'll give you the room.
So, what we did is we did a red alert presentation September 1st. There was a big initiative to try and gain awareness for the live events industry and our struggles, unemployment and, all kinds of issues there. And we wanted to bring attention to it. So, I wanted to figure out how we could participate. So, firstly, I just want to share a little bit about Imaginary Labs. We are a spinoff of Imaginary Lights. We've done, previs as a service for a number of years. I was at VER prior to that and Silent House prior to that. And so I joined forces with a number of other industry professionals in the previs world, game development world, as well as some really great advisors on all spectrums of the industry. And what we want to do is develop the next generation of pre-visualization tools. Um, and the Unreal Engine seemed to be the best, direction to go. We were seeing a lot of really great, advancements there. And just to confirm, you guys can still hear me? Yes. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. It just got a little quiet there for a minute. Just want to be sure. Um, So we're developing, the next generation of pre-visualization and rendering tools, utilizing Unreal Engine because we didn't want to reinvent the wheel with rendering technology. There's this really great push right now with XR, and we saw it coming a couple of years ago that this would be a good platform to get on board with. So the actual project itself, again, is centered around this red alert cause, and without a real building, it presented a couple of challenges. Number one, what do we make? What is a presentation that's connected in the same way to all these other buildings? And we wanted to also take the opportunity to keep our skills fresh, without having done any previs projects from March to September. I wanted to make sure that I still had it and that we stayed fresh with our skills. And then it was also a really prime opportunity for us to show off a little bit of what we've been working on behind the scenes in this tool set for ourselves. We started building Carbon for Unreal as a tool that we could use ourselves. And, we felt that it was time to give people a little taste of where we're going with it. And so now we're actually at a place where we're going to share a little bit more about it. Um, and then the other major challenge was to get it done in 4 days because we found out about the event on a Sunday, and we knew we had to have it ready. I believe it was a Wednesday. So, how do we go about this? Well, the first thing that I wanted to do was find a really great piece of music. Music is the center of a lot of things in my life, and I want to make sure that there was a strong emotional tie. But I didn't want it to be too sappy, like a puppy dog adoption thing or something. I wanted it to have a hopeful, optimistic tone to it. So that kind of drove the entire conversation of how to produce it. As well as reference. And for me, I want to make sure that this was an authentic feeling experience. Anybody in the live events industry could connect with it. And so I took footage and images from one of my old workspaces. This is the VER shop from Pacoima. And I just love the way that the light came in to the space, and it just really made me feel like, okay, we need to connect our presentation with this. So we decided to build a virtual warehouse. So our process began with sort of a Discord jam session where we said to ourselves, okay, Hold on one second. I got to play this video. I just kind of pinned a start point where I could tell my team, hey, we're doing this thing. Do you guys want to get involved? And literally everybody said, all right, let's help you out. Let's get this going. And we began the process of collecting all the assets that we would need. The first thing was the warehouse itself. We weren't going to build a completely original warehouse by ourselves, so we adapted from an Unreal Engine marketplace warehouse that we found that looked really fantastic to start with, but we stripped out the more industrial crate type things and expanded it in 4 directions, so duplicated it 3 additional times to give it the kind of expansive feel that we wanted. From there, we had to start lighting it a little bit more. I wanted to have some of the actual overhead lights to be turned off, like it was, you know, them shutting down for the day or whatever. So we wanted to time this right with this angle of light coming into the building, that it was like just before dusk when you would start to see the physical buildings being pushed on Facebook. You'll start to see, you know, all these other submissions of people who are taking pictures of their buildings and doing a live event. So we wanted to be like, okay, this is the video that I'd want people to see before they watch the rest of them. So this is the empty warehouse after the gear has been rushed out to light up physical buildings. And then we chose the Mac Aura fixture that we have in our library because it has a really great lens quality to it. So we wanted to test that in this as well to see how it looks. We started put in some road cases here, and we put in some Easter eggs here just to see if anybody noticed, you know, some road cases with our logo on it. We don't own a warehouse and we barely own any real gear, so we thought it'd be a fun little Easter egg if anybody caught it. But it was just an absolutely fun process to build this out and to start to art direct it to make it feel a little bit more authentic and like the space that I remember, you know, working in, you know, having a nice prep area, having, you know, an area for QCing of the lights. So I broke that out as a separate scene so that I could have another one of my artists put in like the tool cases and all the little bits and bobs. And so that's the build process. And then when we got to that point, it became time to install our Unreal plugin Carbon and get to work on some of the programming. And to show you a little about that, I want to actually take you into Unreal and show you a little bit of what we have going on under the hood. So give me a moment. Let me just switch my application here. And I actually have a friend, Jim Rude, who happens to be on a console right now. And Jim, are you sending me ArtNet? Let me see. I think he dropped out. Let's take a look. He is. So right now, this is our Carbon interface panel on the bottom. We can see all of our ArtNet connections coming in. And Jim has all the cues right now in a red look. And I don't know if you can flash any other cues right now, but this is live internet DMX-based data brought to us by our friends at Just Networking. We're trying out one of their devices so that we can do some QCing in different places at the same time. So this is that. Let's see if he's got these lights on over here. Probably not. Oh, he's good. They're wiggling right there. So this is live ArtNet data from another space. Hey, wiggle, wiggle. So this was definitely a challenging scene. I mean, we've got 18 universes of ArtNet data coming in on this, and the performance is definitely, you know, areas that we need to start improving on. Unreal Engine is a very beastly engine, and it can do all these really great things. You know, the reflections coming off of the the floors there. You know, they just really built a great product, and we're just trying to eke out every last drop of performance out of this. You know, unlike a lot of the other pre-visualization software that exist, where they can finesse it to just render volumetric lighting and really nothing else, Unreal does everything, which makes it a really great foundation for us to stay agile and build really great content for the future. It just means that right now, in the early days of this, we have to stick with, 200 beams or so is probably the maximum that we can get in a real-time scenario. Now, the nice thing is that we do actually have the ability to record this data and render out a presentation in less than real time later on. So that's all part of what this product is going to enable for us. And we're going to be releasing it next week. And we're really curious to see what people do with this. So I'm hoping that we're going to find some really interesting use cases for this kind of a plugin and see, what people can do with it. Wondering if there's anything else that I can show you before going into a Q&A. I apologize, I'm probably a little bit brief today, but I would rather hear from people as to what they'd like to see in a tool that is ready for the future. We've got a library of fixtures. These are all what we have right now from various different manufacturers. I think on our release day, we'll have about 60, 65 fixtures available that are ready and tested. We have truss objects, nice big library of trusses. And so we're really thinking about Unreal as a design-focused tool where somebody who has never worked in Unreal before but has had experience in like WYSIWYG or maybe like Converse or something like that, that they can start using this from day one and really get a good experience because it's got all the tools built in. It's got the interface already set up and ready to go. All you have to do is just pick the IP address that you want to start listening to ArtNet on. We will start supporting other protocols as they come to bear, but right now ArtNet is tried and true. I can also show you that we've got a way to view fixtures in a way that people expect to see it. So this is our entire patch. And actually, let's have a little fun here. Why don't I just go ahead and delete the entire patch and purge it out. All right, great. It's all completely gone from the scene. And I'm going to bring it back in. Time me. There. Back in the scene. So that is based on a CSV file. So you can use any CSV file that has any column order that you like. You can draw your plot in Vectorworks, AutoCAD, pretty much any piece of software that can export CSV data, and you can spit it right out, and we'll read that in and put the lights where they need to go. And we're just going to be continuing to improve on this and find ways to, make this more and more powerful for people at home.
Chris, we may need to come back.
So it's just a really fun experience. I've only been working in Unreal for about 2 years, but I've always, wanted a really great editor. I'd spent a lot of my time in Maya, and I was always able to create really great renderings using like Arnold or something like that. But to get this kind of interactivity, Epic has really built a great product, and we're just so happy that they've got a group of support people who are making great improvements to it, and we're just excited to see where we can go with this.
Great.
Fantastic.
Well, that's fantastic, David.
I think it's I think
Really.
it's wonderful that as we were talking about the absence of constraints in Unreal, that we're right back in the warehouse where we would be in physical life. It looked really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely pushing the limits of silicon here. We know that graphics cards are getting worked really hard when we start to process this stuff. The beams are the most expensive thing. If I were to show you on my GPU right now, the actual CPU side is very low, but getting into the lighting side of things, that's super expensive. Here, I'll actually hit play and give you guys a sense of what's going on under the hood. Volumetric lighting is so very expensive. So the actual tick time that the CPU is doing only 5 milliseconds worth of work. Everything else is on the graphics card. Shadows and lights.
We have a couple of questions coming in. We have our profiles GDTF.
So they are
What is
based
GDTF?
GDTF, General Device Type Format, I believe is the official acronym. So we utilize both XML and GDTF data to begin making our light, but we found that the number of things that we ultimately think we're going to need to express in a light, that GDTF was not going to be a robust enough container for us. It's a good starting point, but we built our own standard inside of Carbon that will pull the data from those various different sources. There's far more GrandMA2 XMLs than there are GDTFs. So being able to utilize data from those sources means that we can probably build far more lights now rather than making our own GDTF for every fixture. But part of the plugin and part of the appeal that we think is that it has a complete library in it, and it's going to be an expanding and growing library. So anybody who wants to use this isn't going to have to worry about profiles. The goal is that they just turn it on. It's a carbon copy of what it is that they're trying to see.
Great. Let's see our next question. From Dan, so he wants to know about simultaneous collaboration. Is this possible in Carbon?
Hello, are you still there? I think I lost you for a second.
Can you hear me okay now?
Check.
Oh no. Hello?
Can you see the question?
Yes, I can hear you now. I cannot see the question. It's
Okay.
tiny. What is it? I'm sorry.
It's from Dan. He's asking about simultaneous collaboration. Is this possible in Carbon?
Good question. So we have not looked at scene replication yet. It is on our to-do list to if two people have the same plugin installed in the same version, most of the collaboration tools that are built into Unreal do allow for moving of objects in the same space. I think that will be possible, but we haven't tested it yet.
Great.
Okay.
Let's see our next question.
Here's another one from Jeffrey. What were some of the challenges in manipulating the beams from manufacturer to manufacturer?
Hello? Oh, no.
Do you hear me, David? David?
Sorry, I can't hear you guys. Hold on. Let me change my settings real quick.
Check, David, can you hear us?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Fantastic.
Sorry.
We were looking at Jeffrey's question, which you may see on the screen there, about building out beams from manufacturer to manufacturer, and how accurate are they relative to the physical fixture?
So we've tested a couple of lights right now, but since we're still technically in beta right now, we've been focusing on building a foundation that is strong enough that it includes all the functionality of what lights can do, with all of the little knobs and switches that we're going to need based on the time that I've spent like reconciling fixtures with MA3D and Light Converse and WYSIWYG. So although we have only tested a small handful of fixtures, we've run the gamut on capabilities so that at the time that we're ready to start testing with real lights, we can get things like, okay, is this wheel clockwise or counterclockwise? How far apart are the gobos? What is the speed of things? Where's the direction of the disc? Is it coming from the North Pole or the South Pole, the East or the West? Those kinds of capabilities we've been focusing on building so that when we actually start testing fixtures, we're prepared to work quickly and not have to go back to engineering and add these things in later.
Great. I think we have another question. From Rod. Given that you are working within Unreal, can you discuss the ability to interface with OSC, MIDI, as well as sequencing?
Got it. So I'll start backwards and work my way forward. Sequencing is something that we actually already support. So we have an arming system inside of Carbon so that you can select the fixtures that you want to arm for record, bring your ArtNet data in, and you will see your fixtures placed in sequencer, and you can scrub through the timeline and see those events in non-real time. In terms of OSC and MIDI, these are things that I think are pretty well supported already within other plugins, along with like NDI and things like that. Our hope is that we provide a great DMX-based plugin for lighting and all the performance assets and things that you would need to build a great stage. But when it comes time to other protocols that are already supported and supported well, we think that our best approach is to educate and build workflows and pipelines that match the way people would use these things. So what I'd say is it's really about educating people who are from other platforms how they could utilize Unreal and Carbon to do the things that they would do in other programs.
Very good. So I have a question about the creative process.
Yes.
As a developer, let's talk about what it felt like to be in your own tool and making demands creatively that you knew were going to result in your development time.
That's actually something that I do struggle with as the principal of Imaginary Lights, the services company and the architect of Imaginary Labs for the software, and so I do frequently have to butt between those two. With this particular project, I did very much approach it as an artist, looking at the environment, looking at the world. I think that because we already had a pre-built stable version of the plugin, I knew I could utilize it. So it was one of those things where knowing what the tool was and having had that intimate familiarity with it early on, I knew what I could get out of it in a performance setting. I knew that when I was coasting down the line of Mac Auras that were on their QC line, that if we pointed them in just kind of haphazard directions that would look like they just turned off and they settled where they settled, that as we passed down that line and as we would start to see those heads moving slowly and waking and coming alive, I knew from my time working with the tool itself that we were going to get really good refraction and that kind of stuff. So I think in this particular situation, I didn't have to place any requests or demands on the development side because there frankly wasn't time. I mean, it was a 4-day round trip. I'm just really grateful that we had a really good, solid, stable version at that point in time that I could just install and get right to work.
But I think more my question is like, as you're using it, did you come up with a wish list of what you want it to do in the future?
Oh, yes. One major one. So this is actually something that we looked at when we were helping out Velo with infected mushroom. That beast structure that he talked about. Um, uh, um, Mike Robertson came up with this really great animation socket system, and we were like, all right, wouldn't it be great if we could parent lights to that, and Unreal does offer this technique called sockets, and you can take anything and parent it to a socket. And so I think one of the things that I was wishing I could have done with this is that there was a moment where the trusses rise, okay, and I wish I could have found a way to make it a little bit faster for me to select those trusses as parent objects and pick the fixtures that I wanted to snap and attach to it, so that when I move those trusses up, I was able to take the fixtures with it. Because as it is now, I totally faked it. I had the motor and I literally just translated the whole thing up. So I guess it worked.
Yeah. I think we have time then for one more attendee question. Soren, you want to take it?
Sure. David, Kathleen would like to know what are your recommended computer specs for Carbon in a scenario like that you were sharing?
A computer from outer space. I would say so. Single threaded optimized CPUs tend to do the best. So this was run on, I believe it's an 8700, but our workstations that we rent out all have 10900Ks. That's the processor that runs it. However, AMD has got a really great chip if you can actually get your hands on it, the 5950X, and neighboring, all those Ryzen 3 series or third generation Ryzen chips are actually giving AMD a run for their money. So that handles the CPU side. The GPU, I recommend GeForce class cards for this kind of work if you're doing single screen presentations or a movie that you need to render out. Obviously, if you're doing XR, the Quadros are really the only solution because of the gen locking capabilities. So we're really looking forward to that next generation of Quadro cards. I think it's the A6000 that's coming out soon. But I do recommend anything from a 2080 Super or 2080 Ti up to the 3090 are my preferred.
Great. I think that's where we'll wrap with you. We need a couple of minutes to do some festival housekeeping. David, thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.
It's great to see this project come to life and what you're doing with it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.